Today, what I want to talk about is being open and what being open means, what it means truly, how we mistake this process of being open, and how do we do things like hold space, places that we make mistakes inside of our own spiritual practices or with connecting to other people from an open space, and ways that we are sort of misguiding ourselves and possibly others in our experiences of what it means to be open. So let's just kind of chat about this for a minute, because I have a program called Open Your Channel, which is all about open, right? Being open. But the truth is that a lot of that education must begin and must start with how to be grounded, embodied, present inside of your being, and able to understand yourself and clear the things that are standing in your way of actually being open. So we think a lot about opening our psychic centers, and that's generally like a super sexy thing. We value that oftentimes. We see that as being something that is valuable or worthwhile or has some sort of it feeds our ego, let's face it, to be open and to connect and to see things and to experience things on these higher planes. It can also be financially valuable to have those abilities and those gifts and those skills, and it's interesting and these things. So oftentimes we'll spend a lot of time opening ourselves up in one way or another. Now, the place where we get really a little bit messed up here is that we focus on opening up these higher centers before we've actually done the groundwork, before we've done the work inside of our body, inside of our own psyche, even inside of our heart, in order for higher psychic information to come through in a sustainable way for our body, for our system to handle, and also in a way that is honest, true, in integrity, that actually supports evolution and consciousness and growth and development. And it is really easy if you have these skills or you're developing these skills, to focus on them entirely and to sort of miss the other stuff, to run past the other stuff. And when we do that, we really miss a lot. We miss our own personal development and growth. We miss our own ability to connect to our own healing of ourselves, of healing our own traumas and our wounds and the things that will shadow the openness. So we can fool ourselves into thinking that we're very open, and we can fool ourselves into thinking that we're really connected, and we are connected. But whatever we're connected to, whatever we're bringing it in through, we're talking about being open, and being open really is a lot more about being able to be really present for whatever is happening in the moment. And for some of us, we make a sort of choice, a subconscious choice, that instead of being really present with what's really true in the moment, that we sort of escape the moment by attuning to and focusing on our psychic awareness or these other abilities and these, opennesses that we have. But if that stuff is not coming through the heart, it's coming through an open heart that really is focused on joy and love and presence of being for whatever's there, then we can be filtering it through sort of our layers of our own kind of thoughts and feelings and things that are affecting affecting the information that we're gathering or we're transmitting to others. And so this can be a place where we end up not truly holding space for what is really real, what is really present, what is really important, what's really going on. We can be on some fantastical adventure coming up with incredible information about sort of whatever it is that the issue it is that's coming up, right? And yet, at the core essence of what hopefully we're trying to do is to hold space for what's really present for ourselves and what's really present for someone else if we're a facilitator. And that requires being really present sometimes to the emotions that are showing up, to memories that are showing up, to things that are happening for you or for that person, and for things that are moving through the body, things that are grounded in the being. And we can at times seek to distance ourselves from the feelingness of the experience that we're in, distance ourselves from the true awareness of the depth of the pain that we're capable of, or the uncomfortability of the experience that we're in, or the confronting the ego and the thoughts and the feelings and the beliefs and the imposed systems that we have inside of ourselves, or holding space for someone else to come to those conclusions, and instead try to railroad through the process by being so open psychically, by being so open energetically, that we're processing information that might be true at the core essence of its being, and it might actually be true, but is it as helpful? Is it as helpful as helping yourself to embody, to be present with what's there, to be real, to be grounded, to be human, to be taking care of things on a human level, to be incorporating practices or ways of confronting parts of ourselves, instead of seeing things always from sort of this meta level of connection to, the all that there is, and to all of the lives and all of the energies and all of the things, because that stuff can be super interesting, but it's not always the place to start. It's not always of the highest service, because we as humans, we have a lot of other stuff to deal with. We have a lot of trauma. We have a lot of beliefs. We have a lot of holding on to habits and thoughts and wounds and patterns of talking to ourselves. And so we can get super caught up in the whole meta, reality, or, these multidimensional experiences that are out there. But if we're not actually learning how to human better, and we're not actually helping other people to learn how to human better, then truly what's the point? How is that helping? Because we want to look at how are we holding space? How are we holding space for ourselves and our own personal transformation and growth? And how are we holding space for others and their personal transformation and growth? And it is almost sometimes easier to, in a way, dissociate from the current experience, dissociate from the current uncomfortable reality that we're in or someone else is in, and gather information at these other levels and disseminate information or receive information at these other levels that's very dissociated from real life right now, and in this moment. It can be easier to do that, because then we don't have to feel, we don't have to do messy inner work. We don't have to work on ourselves and confront ourselves and our limiting beliefs and the things that are holding us back. We can look at it from this level that is a little more esoteric and hard to put the finger on. And then we can use that information to sort of create even more beliefs and create even more ego and create even more story around who we are or what's happening or who this other person is. And some of this is coming from, my own experiences of going into consultations or work with people, and they come with so much story based on what other practitioners, psychic, Akashic record people, astrologers, friends, all of these different things, they come with so much combined story that's on top of what their experience is. And then they're trying to sort out who they are on top of all of these stories without actually getting in the body, being present to what the stuff is that's there, and then coming at it from a place of not, let me gather more information, but let me see what is the transformation that I'm looking for. And that's one of the things that as practitioners, we're seeking hopefully to do, or with working with ourselves, we're seeking to have a transformation and a change from one thing to another as we shift beliefs, as we shift energy, as we shift our core wounds and find our expressive selves, as we learn about ourselves in ways that are helpful for our human in this lifetime. If information is just being gathered for the purpose of having more information and having more stories about yourself, is that really going to help you to transform into something else? And it is really easy when you get psychic information. It is really easy when you know things. It is really easy when you see things from this higher level to just disseminate information on top of other people. But that information on top of their current stuck and held beliefs and patterns, habits, poor self-care practices, little to no energy practices or movement practices or self-love awareness, those stories are just, it's going to create more. It's going to create more inside of this bucket that's going to become more confusing and more challenging to unwind in the end, because they've solidified around all of those things and put those things on top of the old trauma, the old wound, the old I'm not enough, the old I'm not good, I'm not lovable, right? So as a practitioner, it is almost more challenging to sit with someone inside of their experience and help them find out what they want and how to get there for them in their human, to help them through that transformative experience and that cycle of transformation, that it is to gather and collect information and give them more information. And more information is often not something that gives people the transformation that they're actually seeking, because it's not empowering. It's not giving them some sort of pathway toward finding their way through the forest, through the darkness, through their own pain, through their own wounding, through their own struggle, to find out what it is they actually value and want and seek to create, and then to create that for themselves so that they're empowered and they're activated and they're seeing their potential and they're making choices for themselves, not being told what to do based on the information that you're receiving. I think it's more challenging. I think it's a harder path. And I think that's what really, if we're really open, we're able to be integrated into all of our centers, our feeling and our embodiment, our heart-centered compassion and awareness as to what someone else is going through, and also our psychic centers. And we can become really imbalanced, and it doesn't serve us and it doesn't serve other people. Now, one of the reasons that we become so imbalanced is because we don't want to deal with feeling. We don't want to deal with our old traumas and our wounds and our beliefs and all of our ego bullshit and our identities and all of the things that we put on top of ourselves. And so we just choose to be more in this field of like, let me just open as much as I can and get this sort of blissed out, open experience. And then we choose the things that are in alignment with that. We choose to do more medicine work. We choose to do more super heating energy practices that are really, really activating. We choose to not eat grounding food. We choose to hang out with people who are not grounded. We choose to invest all of our time in psychic pursuits and study. And we choose not to do things like learn how to ground ourselves, be out in nature and be still, be in the body, feel the body, focus on the lower centers, process our own residual traumas and wounds that are being held inside of the body and feel. So if this is, this is part of, I believe, one of the things that we're here to do is to merge the spiritual and the physical. And for some of us, we get so enamored in the spiritual, we get so enamored in the information and the sort of this meta experience up here. We value it to such a degree that we forget about everything else. And when we forget about everything else, we become very ungrounded and unstable, and it becomes harder actually to live life. And then if we become a facilitator and we're holding space for someone else, well, when someone comes to you, oftentimes they are ungrounded because they're in the midst of a crisis. They're having a spiritual crisis, an emotional crisis, a crisis in their relationship. They're highly emotional. They're highly volatile at that moment. They're in an experience. And then they show up. If you also show up in a space that is focused here and is not really grounded, is not really present and able to hold that space for them, then you're going to take on their stuff. You're going to get caught up in the emotion. You're going to get triggered. There's going to be possibility of having different kinds of weird transference going on and countertransference. There's going to be potential for you to be receiving information that's just not helpful. And there is the end result that the person doesn't actually get to understand themselves better. And really, what are we doing? If we're holding space for other people, if we're doing transformative work for ourselves, like what's really the point? Is to understand, accept, and love ourselves more, and to choose from that place what we want to create, which is going to bring us more joy and energy and connection and creativity and all of the yummy good stuff of life. And that is often born on the back of stuff that's not as sexy as this open sort of drawing in all the information and getting the things. It's actually born more on getting to the root of habits and belief systems and patterns and understanding ourselves and understanding why we're doing the things that we're doing and changing the things that we're doing based on what we actually want. And while sometimes information and gathering information can be so helpful, it can be so important for us and for other people to have information that you're receiving or that they're receiving or whatever, however it's coming through. Sometimes it really needs to start in the body more than anything. And it needs to start with the basics, and the basics of being human, the basics of understanding what it takes to be a human, to be inside of a human body, and to do so successfully. So if the focus is always on opening, then we're missing some of this amazing, rich gold that is within the grounded human form, and which from the grounded human form, through the process of becoming so in touch with it that then you start to let things come up and come out, then that process of transformation can complete itself, and we can come into this higher alignment inside of our human body, inside of our human experience, and be better humans on the planet. And that's what I think we really want is, how do we be better humans on the planet? And if the information that we're giving or the things that we're knowing, we might be able to give someone advice as to how to get from A to B, and they might get from A to B, but if it's not actually in alignment with what they really want and what they've chosen for themselves and what they are aware that they really want, because they've gone through the process of tuning into themselves and finding out who they are and finding out what their greatest joys and expressions are and connecting to those, and then facilitating from that place to find out what the future is going to be for them, then even if they get from to B, then they'll look around at B and be like, well, this actually isn't maybe even satisfying me. This isn't actually where I even wanted to go. I never even knew where I wanted to go. Why wasn't I being present with where I wanted to go? Because there's infinite possibilities of where to go. There's all of these choices and all of these possibilities of where each one of us could end up, which choices we could make to go in a certain place in our career, or go in a certain place in our relationship, or go in a certain place in our family life. And so often I see that we are really quick to give advice and to inform and to kind of come from this place, well, I'm receiving this information, so let me give you this information and then live your life from that place, instead of how can I help you to awaken the truth within you so that you have the information that you desire, and where you're going is where you actually want to end up. So I don't know if I spoke about that in a really roundabout sort of way. Because I think that the idea of being really open is it's sexy. We want to do it. And we have to ask ourselves like what that's really all about and why we're doing it. And then what's the service to ourselves, what we're actually getting from it. And is it something that we're using to build more ego, more identity, more sort of weird bullshit on top of? Are we using it to just give information to other people that they may or may not be able to process, may or may not be able to utilize in becoming a better human, may or may not be able to not just be totally confused by, because I just see so many people who get information from people and then they're just like, well, that's what this person told me to do, or that's what this person said that I was, or I'm living this karma, or had this in my chart or in my past life. But it's like, is this shit actually helping? Is it going to help someone to be empowered within themselves to make choices for themselves that are going to give them the tools to be able to transform themselves and to live a life that's, actually a better life, a more connected, joyful, full of gratitude, full of expression life. Yeah. And, I want to let you know, so I'm going to check on Facebook here. Yeah, cool. So I'm going to let you know that right now, if you are interested, I do have a solstice sale happening. I have stuff on sale that's like half price or even more for my main programs. Energetic Mastery, 5 Elements for Empaths, my Qigong and Emotional Mastery course, and also Open Your Channel, which is going to start probably at the very beginning of February. And when you can tell that what I'm offering you here when I'm talking about Open Your Channel, I am talking about opening your channel and opening up to channeling, mediumship, working with beings, working with spirits, working with all of these things on a very spiritual level. But my commitment is that in that process, that we are discovering ourselves, that we are facilitating from a place of alignment, that we are working on this from a level of full embodied human-ing, and not from a disembodied, disengaged, fantastical, ungrounded space. And I believe, that this is a really important part of the work that we're here to do, which is the merging, as I said, of the spiritual and the physical, which is bringing this information and light to earth and into sessions and into your awareness and into your comprehension. But at the same time, that is done so in such a grounded, embodied way, and with such a focus on working with your own consciousness, that it is really supportive and supports you, supports other people, supports the collective evolution, supports all of our growth and human potential. So if you're interested, you can reach out. You can find all that stuff on my website, katherinebird.com. There's a place where you can sign up for the solstice sale. Just enter in your email and you'll get all the solstice sale information on the homepage of my website. And then I'd love to hear from you. If you have a comment on this, just comment and let me know what you think about being open and holding space and receiving information, and how we can become more grounded, more embodied beings inside of these super spiritual experiences. And what do you think about this? And if you have any questions or have anything that you'd like to talk about or hear about, I'm going to be back on here the second week, I guess, of January, or the first week of January. I don't know when it is, but I think it's the 6th or something like that. But I'll be back then to talk about something else that seems present and important. And I will also be posting this on YouTube, so you can check it out there. And if you want to go there and subscribe, that would be amazing, so you can get notifications. And if you want to subscribe to my newsletter, you'll also get notifications when these get released. And you can do that again at my website, katherinebird.com. And I'm wishing you all of the blessings of the beautiful solstice season, and may light shine upon you, and welcome your beautiful new self into 2020. All the best.